Everyone, thank you so much for coming today. And my friend LaFon Jantz is here. And LaFon was married to a very special author, Gregory Jantz. He's a speaker. He is now passed on, but LaFon is taking over this ministry and doing such an amazing job with it because Gregory sold like thousands and thousands of his books because they've helped people all over the world. LaFon, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor.
LaFon, you've got so much to talk about, but I'm just getting the holy bumps, as my friend Dr. Jeff says, my friend Dr. Jeff.
Yeah.
I brought you on because I have this book called Make Peace with Your Past and Living a Life with No Regrets. Well, I mean, I sat down with this book and there's so many parts of this book. And everybody has regrets in their past. So why did Gregory just decide on this topic?
Well, he decided on this topic probably because it is so global. Like it covers everyone. And we all do have regrets. And it's what we do with those regrets that either help us, we learn from them, or they pull us down, they drag us down, and we our boat sinks. And so it's like it's not really, or we just numb out and we're just getting through life and we're just surviving. And so his whole mission in life really has been to help set people free so that they can live their best life here on planet Earth and be free to serve the Lord and not be encumbered by guilt and shame and regrets from the past. And so it's what he lived his life doing in his own life, and what he wanted to pass on to others and empower others to be able to do. And so this little book is small but mighty. And if you take the time with it, it will take you to task and really work you through it in a good way.
It's so good that I'm looking at it, I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, it's small. It's got, let's see, you're at how many pages? You're at like a
Not
hundred
many.
some odd pages.
Yeah.
And okay, so there's so many regrets that I've had in my life as
Mm.
well. And so the power of the book really got to me. And I'd like to just concentrate, if you don't mind, on
Yes.
the 8 ways to glean wisdom from your past.
Yes.
And there's eight listed. And so the first one is consider how your family of origin shaped you. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we don't always understand is how we were raised. Sometimes affects our whole worldview, our perspective on who we are as people, our self-image, our worth and value as a person, and where we're deriving that worth from, who we've given power over our lives to. And or were we taught how to live very independently, not needing other people, or were we taught to be in survival, to make ourselves happy, to make up our own roles for happiness? So a lot of that is, some of that is from our parents, but some of it is from, just circumstances. For example, my mother died when I was 11, and she was the light of my life, and that altered my entire rest of my childhood. So feel like I have two childhoods, and that shaped me. Some for good, some of it was strengthening, but some of it was very debilitating. And thankfully, the Lord used that experience to shape my future, which is part of why, I was so attracted, I think, to a psychologist to help me understand my own world. And and therefore, our treatment facility was born, and he got to write all these books. Some of them are, probably about me and living with me. But some of them are really from his own life experience and his own childhood as well. And it's not all bad. It's looking at it with open eyes and a willing heart to learn from it and to grow from it.
Yeah. And I love that like right after the question, he asks you an application question. And
Yep.
this one was, how is this true for you?
Yes.
You know, so I mean, somebody out there who is, who is like looking at the back end of your life.
Right.
And I took a lot of time with this, and I was just going down the line. Wow, how true is it for me? So the next question would
Right.
be, I identify the turning points in your life. Can you speak into that?
Absolutely. If we can do a lifeline, a timeline of our life history, and there are turning points for better or for worse. Some decisions we made or some things that we, controlled or dictated or fixed maybe didn't turn out so well. We might have made a mess for ourselves. And yet, at the point that you discover, oh, that didn't work well, then you have to walk yourself back to where you started sometimes, and you begin to learn that that pattern is kind of a waste of time. And do you want to keep having to do that, like make a mess and walk it back, make a mess, walk it back? Or do you want to start making some, healthy decision, maybe some different decisions, maybe learning more before you take that step and make the decision? But there are also things that happen to us that are beyond our control, and those can be turning points for better or for worse. And so it truly is all about how you learn from it, grow from it, and walk it out from there. Are you going forward, or are you letting it defeat you? So there's
Mhm.
two directions.
The third one was, weigh the words of wisdom that stuck with you. And this was good because it said, perhaps a parent, a teacher, or a coach gave you some advice or lived in a way that served as advice. How did that affect who you are today? Wow.
Yeah, wow. And perhaps, okay, there was one time where I was in a Dale Carnegie speaking class and I was in high school. My father was still alive at the time, and I just did not want to go. I didn't have anything to say. I was terrified of speaking, and I crawled up to his room and Dad, I'm sick. I can't go. He's like, oh, I think you can. I think you'll be happy if you go. Just go, and you'll think of something to do with your 2-minute speech. So I went, and I shared, my 2-minute speech was about not wanting to go. And everyone could relate to it. It was a great success. And I shared what my dad said. He didn't buy my lame excuse. And so here I am. And that was the end of my speech. And they loved it because we all felt that way. Sometimes where we are stuck the most, when we want to quit, when we don't want to go forward, is exactly the moment of growth. If you can gently coax yourself to still show up and still move forward and still get up for the day and still acknowledge that this is the day that God has divinely made. He doesn't want me to be sad or negative in this day. His mercies are new every day. Get up, get going, and just show up for His day. It might not be your day, but it's still His day. He made it, and He wants us to be glad in it, even if we're not glad. And so, some of it is just showing up. Corey Ten Boom said, don't bother giving God instructions, just report for duty. And that was one of our mottos in the early season of our business, our startup business, is just report for duty. Those are wisdom words that stuck with us and propelled us to keep going. So maybe you have someone like that who helped you. Negative words can stick with you too, but you can choose to discard those. Sometimes we don't know that we can make that choice. And so part of what my husband's mission was empowering people to choose, to make decisions, to think these things through logically, because we don't, feelings are good and feelings are real, but we don't want our feelings to control us and dictate where we go. So you can use feelings as kind of an indicator, but you still need to engage the brain and think logically about, what is my choice to do with this? What is my choice to do with this feeling? Is this feeling helping me or hurting me?
Mhm, mhm. How about someone who, say, they had a whole lifeline of regrets? I mean, you're like, say you're in your, I don't know, late 50s, 60s,
60s.
70s,
Yep.
and you said, I did all this stuff, but nothing, so many regrets. I
Yeah.
don't understand why my life is the way it is today.
Yeah.
How did he speak into that?
Well, I mean, I just saw one of our web contact forms because on our website you can, you know, communicate with admissions, and um, this person is in, close to 70 and just really struggling with that issue. And going back to her family of origin, just a very difficult situation in her home that she never quite overcame. A lot of anxiety and depression, a history of a lot of medication to try to feel better, but still in 60s and 70s not resolved. So my encouragement would be get help, get professional qualified help, make sure that it's in line with your values and your faith, because you don't want to go off course from that perspective. But there may be some things that you have struggled with that you simply don't have the tools yet for. Or the other issue is that sometimes we're kind of in the wilderness, trying this, trying this, trying this, and this to see what works, but never doing anything long enough to see success. And so the value of really, truly good, wise, professional clinical care can be to help keep you focused, to help keep you on track, to help you walk through the very things that you need to walk through and identify what it is that's holding you back. Be able to accurately identify it, to look at it for what it is, and to reframe it in a more positive perspective. So, towards the back of the book, my husband says, maintaining a healthy perspective can empower you to revise experiences so that they are less painful and more instructive, and so they honor the person you were and are. And I think that says it all for that type of situation. Is there is, sometimes we can have so many regrets that we're not even honoring who we were then and who we are now. We're just stuck. And so getting unstuck sometimes requires getting help. This book, though, if you actually do this book, this is part of that help, I believe. It'll really take you to task in a good way.
That and so, moving on into this, when you unpack your life, this is number
Yes.
4 in 5-year increments. This is my favorite. I literally spent probably 45 minutes thinking about this.
Good job.
I mean, literally taking it in 5-year segments of your life.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how when you do that,
Yeah.
you're like, wow, I that happened, those regrets happened, but there and why? Because sometimes you're still thinking, why am I still thinking about this now?
Right.
Right? Something that happened in the 15-year mark or
Right.
whatever. But it's crazy.
Crazy. And doesn't it give you a feeling like, okay, I've got this now on paper. I don't have to keep it's not floating around here in my head or in my heart. Uh, I got it down. I didn't just think it, I inked it. It's going to say the same thing every time you look at it again. You can add to it. You can refine it. You can create more clarity for yourself. You can start putting words to these experiences. And I mean, that's your testimony.
This goes right into question 5. Gauge how you changed over the past 10 or 20 years. When you're gauging that, in what ways are you different from the person you were a decade or two ago? Come
Hmm.
on, I think everybody's pretty much changed, and prayerfully and hopefully that you have matured in Christ,
Right.
that you're not the person that when you came out of the gate you were still believing in the angels, but you were now morphing into the cross of Christ and salvation. So,
Right, but sometimes that's not what we see. Sometimes we see that it's gone from bad to worse. And so, what do you do with that? And
Mhm.
and that's that's painful to be in that place and have to acknowledge that. But if we stay in denial and we don't ever look at that, we don't acknowledge it, then there's no motivation to change. You just keep doing the same thing, expecting things to get better. But don't we know that's probably not going to work well? Yeah. As they
Yeah,
say, how's
yeah.
that working for you? Probably not that great. So, taking the time to pause and really look at these things and acknowledge the truth is key. The decisions we make today are going to impact us 5, 10 years from now. So, what decisions are you going to stop and think about and make today that are going to be for good?
Six would be assess your successes.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, like, what do you consider your most successful events and experiences?
Yeah.
So when you do that, what's happening?
When you do that, you're affirming and acknowledging that not all of life is terrible or bad. You're actually taking some time to, you know, actually be grateful, because if you're looking at what's right and good, that's part of gratitude, isn't it? That's part of, going, wow, that actually did go well, and that actually did work for me, or that person actually was really easy to be with. That was successful in that relationship in that moment of time. And what was good about that, and start noticing, because a lot of times we can be so under the weather that we're not even noticing what's good. So helping, folks to pick up their heads and start thinking about, okay, so what is good? What is going well? And if we can start turning towards those things and away from the negative, it's what we're turning towards that is beginning to give our trajectory for the future direction.
Yeah, so what you're thinking now is what it will come ahead, is what you're
Yes.
saying. So
Yes.
that so that is perfect. Okay, so now we did that, but seven is examine your failures,
Yeah.
which I do on a daily basis, which
Most people do. They say that pain of loss is greater than the joy of winning.
yeah.
And, we win, we're excited, but we seem to be excited for the moment, and then we kind of forget. But when something goes wrong, man, we stay there, we camp there, we park on that spot. And in trauma, they call that the X, so they often have to get soldiers with post trauma off the X. And how do you do that? Because that's a place where they can stay stuck and keep returning back to, instead of looking at what went right or what was good.
So notice how your dreams have changed. Now this is true too.
Oh,
When you have a dream in your heart, a lot of
yeah.
people believe that, like, oh, I had a dream, it's never going to happen.
Right.
But, can you kind of talk about that for a little bit?
I was just reading about the guy that created the telegraph, and he gave all glory to God. It was because his wife had died and he didn't know, because they couldn't get the message to him soon enough. And so he was determined to work with scientists to figure out how to communicate messages, quickly. And so that's when he came up with that. But and he acknowledged that it was, against all odds, that people said it couldn't be done. And so often it's, who are you listening to when you have a dream in your heart? Were you surrounding yourself with people that were encouraging you and helping you, and part of the dream could contribute to your dream? Or did you listen to the naysayers, the ones that said it couldn't be done, the one and to your own lies, right? To your own, like, oh, that was just a pipe dream, that'll never happen. I don't have the qualifications, all the things we tell ourselves, instead of showing up for it every day. And that's true for my husband and I. We were very young when we started in the clinical field. And of course, who wants to get wisdom from young people? But we didn't, we just knew that this was what God had called us to do. And so when we were in business 3 years, we're like, oh, we get to say we've been here 3 years now. And then 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, now 42 years, and now what we are talking about is what is the trend, whole person care. And so you just have to stay at it. We've had, obviously, anytime you're doing something that's being noticed by others, you're gonna attract both good and negative attention. And it has to be okay with you to come to a place where you know that you know that you know that you're standing on a rock, and this is what you're supposed to do, and you rise up to be able to answer those naysayers if you want to, or you simply move away from those people. But I find it's interesting to engage with them, because I learn, I can learn more about their perspective, and that helps me speak to that.
I love these little self-help books because
Yeah.
really they are just so important to us. Sometimes, it's so great to read all the Christian books and everything and read the books. But when sometimes we have to stand back and start taking a little analysis here. And I love his perspective, and I love the way that you're talking about it because, living with him was probably a joy journey as it was
It was.
because, learning more than you probably could, right?
Absolutely. He was joyful every day, such a sweet spirit and so generous and kind. I have a picture that was created by a gentleman who does renditions for veterans who have passed on and folks. So you can just see the joy and the light in his eyes, and that's truly him. This is totally him. He lit up a room when he walked into it. That's the man I fell in love with, and that's the man I got 43 years with. I'm counting our dating year.
Because you've known him so long,
Yeah,
right?
we were married for 42 years. Yeah. So
Oh,
I'm lucky I got to spend that, God blessed us with a long time together.
you have such joy in your heart that it shows, and you know the Lord
I do.
because when a lot of people when they don't know the Lord, they're always yeah. But when you know the Lord, you have joy because you know that ahead is so joyful,
Yeah, well,
right?
yeah. I mean, that's absolutely, heaven doesn't seem so far away. And
Yeah,
at the right time, we get to join in. And
yeah,
that time's not yet for me. So a
yeah.
little bit, I feel like I got left behind, but that's okay. I got
You
more
you
work to do.
you now have the torch, right? So
I
you're gonna
do. I
you're gonna
do.
take the
Not by
torch and
choice, but I'm willing. And that was one of the first things after he passed. Within a week, I just felt in my spirit that I need to just take it on as it comes and just go for it and not shrink back from anything, but just continue to take on whatever comes my way. And that's been blessed. That I believe was from the Lord.
before we close, I just want to talk to you a little bit about when people have a hard time forgiving,
Yeah.
especially themselves, you know, how do you begin to forgive?
Well, again, it goes back to telling yourself the truth. Like, if you don't acknowledge that that's what's happening, or if you don't have that self awareness that that's what's happening, then you may just be muddling around in confusion. And confusion is from the enemy. He loves it to keep us confused, to keep us like, oh, I just don't know. I don't know why I feel this way. I don't know why. But the truth is, if you stop yourself and take the time to reflect on some of these things, you probably do know a little more than what you're giving yourself credit for. And that's hard. It might not be safe for you. And, so how do we get our own heads to a place where our heads are a safe neighborhood for us to dwell in, let alone other people. So, that was a topic of one of my speeches at a women's retreat, is keeping your head a safe neighborhood, for yourself and others. And you can set some rules for yourself, but sometimes our rules are not, very kind and gentle towards ourselves. And so, books like this, Make Peace with Your Past, Living a Life with No Regrets, is one way of helping you to walk that out and make that happen in a healthy way so
Mhm.
that you can become more self aware. You can have the courage to face your past in the first place. I think all of us have these little closets where we've shoved all our skeletons. Well, don't we know, truthfully, as believers, God knows exactly what's in that closet. So if we're hiding it, we think we're hiding it. Who are we hiding it from? We're not hiding it from Him. So go ahead and open the door and let the Lord in, and He will do the cleaning. And it's scary. Yes, it's scary because you think you're able to contain it, but you're not. It just leaks. It keeps leaking in. And so that all by itself, it's not even that you have to talk with someone else about it, but you can talk to God about it. That's the beauty of being a Christian, is that we actually have a relationship with the Lord, and that we can have conversations with Him. Most of us also need a little help from, strong, wise believers who are confidants, who will not gossip, who will not pass the information on. And that's also the safety of a good, solid clinician, Christian therapist, is they're bound to confidentiality. So, you can have more confidence that it's going to stay where you lay it. And so I often talk about where we are is we just welcome people to come and just unload all their toxic stuff, and we know what to do with it. We're not afraid of it. We're not intimidated by it. We're not going to judge anyone for it, because we're all in this human condition, and we're all a bit of a mess, at least in the beginning, until you find a way to start sorting it out and clearing out some of the mental clutter and the memory clutter. Memories don't go away. So it's not like you really actually can forget anything, which is why they really do need to be dealt with. And we want to do that healthfully, so it's not toxic anymore.
Whoever is out there and you feel stuck or ashamed, there is help for you. There is help that you can let go of their past. This little book is a step. Make peace with your past, right?
It
But
is.
LaFon, where can they find out more about you? Get, Gregory's books, know about the ministry. And also, I understand you speak as well. So how can they get in touch with you?
Well, we do have a website. It is aplaceofhope.com. We're known as the Center A Place of Hope. And on that website are tons of resources, inventories that you can take to see, how depressed you are. If you are struggling with an eating disorder, OCD, or post-trauma, there are inventories that you can take, resources. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of our webpage, there's a place where you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter, which gives you mental health tips, very valuable, and also talks about where you can buy our books. There's a resource section for mental health resources. Of course, also Amazon carries all of his books, Dr. Gregory Jantz, Jantz. And so that can be found there. Also, you can email at info@aplaceofhope.com if you're interested in having me speak. I speak by Zoom or in person, and I really enjoy it. I just enjoy being with people hungry to learn and grow.
Everybody, you can see what a wonderful speaker LaFon is. So again, give her a shout. And LaFon, what would you like to leave the audience with today?
Oh, just know there's always hope. There is hope. You can hope against hope, and God will open the door. He will, make a way for you. Call on God, and He will hear you. He will listen. He will turn His face towards you and answer you. And so, if this feels like an answer to your call for help, then we'll have done our job today, because we know that He knows you, He sees you, He loves you, and He really does want you to embrace each and every new day that He has made. He wants you to be able to rejoice and be glad in it. And His mercies are new every day. His grace is sufficient for you and me and you.